So, WatchMojo has struck again with their streamlined, simplistic schlock that had zero effort put into it. Seriously? Why is it all the large channels on YouTube are so corporate and incredibly out of touch? I'd actually like to meet a YouTuber with over 1 million subscribers that is a fan of Star Wars Republic, but that'll never, ever happen. But that's not the topic of today's video. A short while ago, WatchMojo made a video on the top 10 biggest Hollywood sellouts, and their definition on what qualifies as a sellout is pretty stupid. And guess who made the #1 spot? Yeah, well, let's skip straight to the end and see what they have to say about Georgie Boy.
Number 1. George Lucas. The original Star Wars trilogy was groundbreaking in the world of cinema and sci-fi, and is still beloved and renowned by a die-hard fanbase today.
Not that you would know anything about the die-hard fanbase and all the demographics within it.
So it's not surprising that fans feel the creator of the series sold out in later years, and in turn, did the franchise a huge disservice.
With the Clone Wars?
The prequel trilogy had—
Oh, of course you weren't talking about the Clone Wars. You were talking about the prequel trilogy. You know, I'm pretty sure the fans you've been referencing have been over this already. Prequel hate and the whole "the prequels ruined everything" bullshit was perception rather than reality. The franchise was not on a decline after 2005. You actually look at things in general, and it's what you'd expect. The novels and comics still sold well, The Force Unleashed sold a lot, and any failures would have included shit like, I don't know, Star Wars Connect, or the Clone Wars initially, if not for the fact that George Lucas decided to keep investing in it. The prequels, I'm sorry to say, didn't ruin the franchise whatsoever. That was a poorly thought out perception, and I'm sick of hearing about all the poorly aged prequel hate Star Wars ruined bullcrap. Any dedicated hardcore fan who hated the prequels would have been able to get over it pretty quickly. Because, oh boy, Star Wars Legacy? Gimme, gimme, gimme!
Has been widely criticized for being a money grab.
Yeah, the idea that the prequels were a money grab is fucking pathetic. First of all, if you wanted to milk the brand for all it's worth through recognizability, why in the hell would you make a prequel trilogy? You're obviously going to have to make up new characters and put the existing characters back to a state before we recognize them in the originals. Plus, doing a sequel trilogy would have been way easier than a prequel trilogy from a writing perspective, because you don't have to think about continuity and keeping the story thematically consistent as much. George Lucas made it pretty clear he was done after Revenge of the Sith. I don't remember there being a new Star Wars movie 3 years later. Well, actually I do, but that's a completely different story. And what do you know? The Clone Wars movie you could actually criticize for being a cash grab. A poorly structured made-for-television mess that was just a 4-episode arc spliced up together to make up a movie because George Lucas decided at the last minute to make it a film, when he should have decided that in advance.
As it wasn't as well received critically, and fans weren't thrilled with it either.
You know, I also have to say, when a movie isn't received well, people do have to be honest with themselves and say, did this movie ruin the franchise, or was it just a bad movie? And rarely do I think people actually sit down and think this through. Do the Disney sequels ruin the story? Yes. Does all the other shit ruin the story? It's a case-by-case basis. And I can certainly say each piece of the pig slop does certainly ruin elements of the story, but not the whole thing. With exceptions, of course.
The final nail in the sellout coffin was Lucasfilm selling to Disney. Watching the former indie filmmaker George Lucas sell his work to this huge corporation showed us that his creative endeavors were much more financially motivated than we thought.
Dude, he gave Lucasfilm to Disney for a steal price. $4 billion sounds like a lot, but it was nowhere near what it was actually worth. And also, George Lucas donated a lot of that money to charity. Oh shit. WatchMojo has no concept of perspective and is ignorant to how things actually played out? I don't think selling to Disney in itself was selling out. When you consider everything going on, and you know how much George sold Star Wars for, and what he actually did with the money, there's things to not like about George Lucas, and it's stuff that prequel haters never bring up. But it's safe to say that George Lucas is not the villain of this story. Sorry, WatchMojo.
Which star do you think sold out the hardest?
Yeah, that's it. That's the whole George Lucas segment. That was pathetic. The whole argument basically is George Lucas made the prequels and everybody hated them and then he sold to Disney. What a hack. It's the most cookie cutter, low effort case against Georgie Boy that I've ever seen. Well, this might have been a short one, but I don't think this should have gone ignored. I'm JJ Plagiarisms, and until next time, what are stories but mystery boxes?
Under the mountain, a golden fountain. Were you praying